In this video we're taking a closer look at the Hilleberg Staika. I'll tell you all you need to know about this tent in order to decide if this is the right choice for you. To begin with some specs, it's a two-person tent. It weighs 4 kilograms. It has 2 entrances and 2 vestibules, and it was initially made to be used on rocky terrains for kayaking throughout Sweden. The Staika has been around for a very long time. The oldest photograph that I've been able to find of it is, I believe, from 1997. The Hilleberg Staika is a black label tent. If you're not familiar with the labels that Hilleberg uses, what this basically means is that the focus is on durability and strength, not so much on weight, because as mentioned earlier, it is 4 kilos, which is quite a lot for a two-person tent. I have a detailed video of the setup. If you want to have a look at that, I'll put the link somewhere in the video. For their black label tents, Hilleberg uses 10mm poles, which are slightly thicker but much stronger compared to the 9mm on the yellow label and the red label. Also included in the bag is a spare pole section and a repair kit with instructions. So you can fully replace one section, and this bit you could just use to piece 2 broken sections together basically. Instructions are included, but you'll need some sort of duct tape. The pole sleeves are color coded. There's white, blue and red. According to Hilleberg, there's no official order in which to put in the poles, but I found that putting in the blue one first works best, and I'll show you why that is later on. So from here you could do 2 things. You can start putting in the poles, or if it's windy, you can stake out the 4 corners. And here I just want to highlight something real quick. I've seen many of new users panicking on the internet about this, thinking there's something wrong with their tent or the poles are wrong length. You see, there's quite some difference. At least that's how it looks like. If you measure the poles, they're exactly the same length. So this is perfectly normal, nothing to worry about. So as you can see, the pole sleeves are short. They aren't going through the whole tent. The rest of the tent will be set up with clips. So this is why I think the blue pole should go first. There's this attachment clip right here, and it's going this way. Of course you can twist it a bit and attach it here. Trying to do this with one hand. Yes, there we go. So this works. This isn't that bad, but I just prefer this to be in a straight line, so there's no unnecessary tension on the clips. So this is something that makes the Hilleberg Staika different from the Octo and the Solo. The guy lines are not attached to the poles. On the Solo you wrap this bit around the pole so that they're attached to the pole itself, which should increase stability and a risk of tear on the fabric. Also, this is just one guy line. On the Solo there are two separate guy lines. On this side I did it wrong, so that means that one guy line is on this side and I passed it through the pole actually. So I can't really set it up properly like this, because on this side I will be putting too much tension on this clip. So the only thing to do now is to undo this knot, which isn't something you want to do in bad weather if you just want to get in the tent. So you need to be very mindful of where you put the pole and where the guy line is when you're setting up the tent. You can use this loop to create more stability from the winds, but you could also use it to create a bit more ventilation. If you don't put in the peg fully, you can raise it up, or maybe use a piece of cord to pull it up just slightly if you need that extra bit of ventilation. Like this perhaps. Another difference is that on the Hilleberg Solo and the Alak you can find a small rain gutter on the top hat, which will redirect the rain and prevent it from coming into your vestibule when you unzip the tent. Another minor detail that probably no one notices or uses is a small guy line attachment point on the top hat. What you can see is on the earlier designs there was a clip here to attach the fly to the door. Right now it's just a rubber toggle. Here you can see the entrances being on opposite sides. The Staika is shaped like a pyramid in order to perform better in higher winds. The downside of that is that Hilleberg needed to get creative on how they attach the inner tent. The main difference being those two toggles. They are used to create more inner space by pulling the tent outwards. This is of course fine when you have the doors zipped up, but when you zip them open, the inner doors will sort of be in your face. Like this. You can of course easily roll them up. This is just something to be aware of. The second door panel is still attached, and if you unzip this one, it's being pulled by those toggles, so it remains in place better. If you want to roll it up, you can do so partially. Like this, and there's a toggle here that you can use to attach it. Or you can undo those toggles. And roll it up fully, like this. There are two door panels on each side, and one of them also has a mesh. So you can remove the fabric panel, you can unzip it to add a bit more ventilation. If you look at the top, there's one zipper here that you can undo. Then the fabric again falls into the inner tent because of its shape. And from here on you can open the outer door for extra ventilation. So the doors and vents on the Staika are connected, just like they are on the Solo. On the Alak there's a separate zipper for the vents. So this is how the vents look like from the outside. This fabric isn't waterproof, it is water resistant and it is breathable. So even if you have this closed up, it will still provide some ventilation. So the doors have two-way zippers, which means you can also open it up from the top down. And this is good when there's been heavy snowfall and your tent is surrounded by snow. You can unzip it from the top. And you can then enter and exit the tent from there. There are two attachment panels on each side. You can put a piece of cord in here to dry your clothes, perhaps your wet socks, something like that. There's also an attachment point at the top that you can use for your lamp. The bathtub floor is seam tape. Hilleberg doesn't do that on its outer fabric, but it does on the bathtub floor. The vestibule on the Staika is very large, so there's plenty of space for your gear, your bag, maybe even a large dog. As you can see here, the height in the vestibule is somewhat limited by its shape and by the inner tent. You can of course undo this toggle again to get some more space if you need. Alright, so what's my overall conclusion of this tent? I think this is a very purposeful tent. It's built to be used in high winds, in heavy snowfall, overall bad weather, and if you're planning to use your tent in those conditions, this might be the right choice. I wish Hilleberg updated it just slightly with some features that they use on the Unlock and on the Solo. I've asked Hilleberg why those features aren't here, for example the double guy lines or the rain gutter, and the answer was pretty straightforward. They said this is just an old design. Aside from that, if you're using your tent for casual camping and you want some extra space, look at the Hilleberg Unlock. The Unlock 2 or the Unlock 3 might be a good choice. One thing I do like about this tent is its rectangular shape, rectangular inner tent, which makes it possible to sleep both directions basically, whereas the Unlock has a tapered design which is wider at the head and narrower at the foot end. This tent also has the doors on the opposite sides, which can be an advantage in some cases. So, like I said earlier, it's a very purposeful tent. It has some inconveniences that could be minor, mostly caused to its shape and some of the design features not being updated. However, if you really need a Black Label freestanding tent, this might be it, because if you're in really bad weather, that small rain gutter won't help you anyway.